Okay, at least it's not worse than burgers. That was the last time.
Oh, yeah, their new locks are not. We got to get
That's plan A.
How are you?
Good, how are you?
Tired.
My husband started.
Absolutely. Huh? No.
How are you? Not bad.
I didn't bring it, but you sit right there. I think I
Right, well, that,
one that's three sides.
yeah.
I know. It'd be nice to swing.
Other parts. Oh.
No.
How's the middle school? Gift cards
Thank you,
and
everybody,
like-
for coming tonight. Appreciate it on this warm evening. We will call the regular school board meeting of the Independent School District 204 to order. We do have a quorum here tonight. By the way, if you'd like to address the board, there are comment cards in the back by the flag. If you get them to Ms. Brewington or myself for public comment, then we would recognize you to speak. With that, we will stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. The flag is down.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
With that, do we have a motion to approve the agenda as presented? Thanks, Mark. And a second? Second. Thanks, Patrick. Any discussion, any changes anybody wishes on the agenda? Hearing none, all those in favor of approval of the agenda say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. And we are on to communications and into comment accommodations, and we only have one tonight. We have a guest with us, Guy Paradise is with us, board chair in 2011 when we hired Superintendent Patuska. I'll turn it over to Guy here.
No, it's word. Well, thank you. I see a lot of familiar faces here, but for those of you that don't know me, I'm Guy Paradise. Was on the board for 2 terms. Chris, I see some board alumni, if you will, and happened to be the chair in 2011 when we had the opportunity to have Mark join us. So thought it was maybe appropriate being here on the first day and being here on the last board meeting as well. But I wanted to share a few stories, if you don't mind, Mark. So if you haven't been through the process of finding a superintendent, you start with a pretty big pool, and then we narrow it down. And we had a lot of applicants for Kasson-Mantorville because there was a reputation here. So we narrowed the pool down, and I don't remember if it's 4, 5, 6 candidates come in and you go through this series of interviews. And they're interviews, both formal as well as informal meetings. You get to know the candidates. And Mark just stood out. And it was really due to the level of preparation. It was just outstanding. He came in, he had learned about the community, he knew the district, he had read the website, he knew issues we had suggestions on how we might address them. He had been to coffee at the old Daniels and met with the retirees and gathered some real wisdom there. He'd been out to the American Inn to the early morning swim to visit. So it was just this preparation was amazing. And to me, it was that first signal of his commitment to Kasson-Mantorville. I mean, it was clear. It was clear to all of us. So we're grateful, Mark, that you chose to join us. And then early on, as we got to start to work together, it was clear to me that Mark was here to raise the bar. He was here to raise the expectations for all of us, the expectations that our students had for themselves, us as board members, staff. He was here to raise the bar, raise the expectations, and was committed to KM. And that was before I think this commitment to excellence had been coined. But I mean, it was just clear early that he was on a mission. And I'm like, hell yeah, let's go, right? Let's go. But not everybody's with you on a mission like that. A lot of people are like, just relax a little bit. Cam's a pretty good place. We're doing okay. But that Mark was not gonna tolerate that. We were on this, what was not yet coined, commitment to excellence. And what's required there is leadership. Like, to get there, it takes leadership. And that's what Mark brought to this district. And I remember in a meeting we had, we were talking about, so one of the things Mark took a look at right away was, what are we doing for our senior high students, their access to college classes, AP courses, like how are we stretching these top kids? and was willing to take a look at the curriculum that we had in place for quite a while. We had great courses, great staff, great teachers, but he was challenging it. And so we had decided to make a few changes there, all under the pretense of improving the offerings for the students here at KM. And I turned to Mark and I said, this is not going to be popular with some people, right? They've got a lot of time invested into how we do things here. And you turned to me, and that's a lesson I learned, was you weren't here for popular decisions. I'm not here, guy, for popular decisions, he says. I'm here for the ones that are respected. And the decisions that are respected for their positive impact to the kids, to the community of KM. And I mean, I think of that model, Mark, when things get tough at work and you have to make hard decisions. You're not after the popular decision, you're after the one that would be respected. And so that was clear to me, and I think clear to all of us that work with Mark early on, that was the leadership. That's what it would take to get to this path to excellence, which isn't the easy one. I see our wrestling coaches there and some wrestling folks here, softball champion dad in the back there. Like, that path to excellence isn't easy. It's not the easy path. It's not the popular path. And it didn't matter, right? You were on the path, the commitment to excellence. So we thank you for that. So thank you for 12 years of leadership here, 12 years of guiding us on this path, this commitment to excellence. And I think ultimately 12 years of you being committed to Kasson-Mantorville and us as a community. So thank you. And with that, I'd like to present you with a key to the city, to the community, to wherever door you want to try it to, for your commitment to excellence in the Kasson-Mantorville.
If you were a board member during Superintendent Tuska's term, do you want to swing up here? You get a picture? Come on, Mark. Yeah, close enough. You were close. I'm not gonna stand with
Good, everybody's in. 1, 2, 3.
Thanks, everybody.
So folks, there is a reception for a few minutes afterwards. There's cake and water out there if you want to hang around. I know Superintendent Tuska will hang around for a few minutes and chat with you all before he heads back to Jackson, where we wish him the best with his family and helping out with his parents. So thank you, Superintendent Tuska. With that, it'll be a short meeting that I suspect, but we'll move on to 3.2, consider the resolution for acceptance of gifts. Ms. Richards.
I, Angie Richards, introduced the following resolution to accept and move for its adoption. Whereas Pam Justice has generously offered to donate a baritone horn and mouthpiece valued at $1,795 and a clarinet valued at $400 to Kasson-Mantorville Middle School band students. And whereas Wally Bigelow has generously offered to donate art supplies valued at $800 to KM Art Classrooms.
Thank you for that, Angie. Do we have a second? Thanks, Kate. Any discussion on that? Once again, our community tremendous at supporting this school district, and we thank them for that. So we have a motion and a second. All those in favor of the resolution for acceptance of gifts, state aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. The motion carries. And we're on to 3.3. This is just a discussion point. So been meeting with MSBA a lot the last few weeks, I guess. And they made a recommendation, two recommendations. For some workshops for the district, for the school board, and I wanted to bring it up to the school board. The first one is hiring the right superintendent, covers topics, again, they understand where we're at, so whether to use consultants, who to work with as consultants, setting timelines, developing qualifications, setting criteria, involving stakeholders and media, dealing with internal candidates, legal pitfalls, interviewing do's and don'ts, and deliberating in public. So I just wanted to bring this up to the board and see on the first topic what the appetite was for the board to use MSBA and go through that hiring for the right superintendent work session. Any thoughts on that?
I think it's a good idea.
Yeah, as a new board member, I find value in that.
Yeah, I don't think any of us are experts in that area, and we'll look to MSBA for guidance on that. So that is the first one, and that they recommended that we do that sometime probably in October. So the second is a recommendation to have a work session called Mutual Expectations. And so when I pressed a little bit on this, they said they recognize that there's some stress and mistrust in our board. And I pushed a little more, and they said, well, we received an email from a board member, and they said, they shared, I was copied on it, and I'll read what they shared as a concern. The email says, I'm concerned about possible ethics complaints towards Mark and Chairman Kent that are circulating within the community. I have concerns regarding Kent choosing this committee himself. And it goes on a little bit more. And so they said, you have some things that you probably should work out as a board. And so I want, based on their recommendation, I want to bring that to the board and get your input on it.
I would welcome any and all training that MSBA would be willing to come down and provide for us. I think that would be wonderful.
So this last recommendation was based on the content of that email?
Yeah, it was, to my understanding, the only email they received or communication. So, and I guess I should, so I want to clarify right now, it's quite easy to find out if there's an ethics complaint against either your superintendent or a board member. It's one call to the district office, one call to the attorney. You can find out if that rumor is true or not. I checked with our attorney twice on it, and I've checked with the district office multiple times. And so it's disappointing that this kind of stuff circulates and that people allow this to circulate. And so I hope we can work forward in the future to resolve some of these things. So any other thoughts?
I think it would be good to work on some team building and build trust within our board, because I think that's the way we could be the most effective.
Kent was the board member that sent that email.
I was the board member that sent that email, actually, and I wasn't specifically referencing a formal complaint with the Attorney General, but complaints from community members over the past year regarding ethics.
Did you, board member Ryan, speak with Kent or Mark regarding any ethics violations or any concerns regarding that matter?
Yes, in our finance meeting regarding Mr. Matuska's contract and how that all came about. Absolutely. I think you were present.
You specifically asked him if there's ethics violations against them?
I think this is a great example of why we should do team building, public forum, to talk about the details of the board. I think it's something we can work on. And I'm not talking about a formal ethics violation again. I'm talking about ethical complaints from community members.
But what was the goal or objective in that email to MSBA?
To make it as objective and fair as possible through this whole process. And to express my distrust. And I think I think we're, as a board, in agreement that that would be beneficial for us.
But I guess going back to the ethics complaint, essentially that was rumors and misinformation and lies that you were explaining to, sounds like MSBA, on behalf of trying to discredit our board chair in what his duties are as board chair that we elected him to do and search out the information that we needed from MSBA?
No.
What was your intent with that email?
To ensure that this process was objective as possible, I asked if it's normal to have a subcommittee or if it's an entire board when hiring an interim. And then I expressed my distrust. And it's not actually regarding just rumors, it's actually concerns that have come to me. I'm not talking about the rumor of the Attorney General ethical complaint that I think you're referencing.
No, but you were stating that there was concerns, ethic concerns for the superintendent and for
The
the board
community, that's right.
chair. So what were those, and I guess where was the source of your information if it actually wasn't true, or you didn't actually confirm that with either board chair or the superintendent?
I did have a conversation with them, but I
They
don't
said
think.
that is true, that they did have ethics violations against it?
That's not what I'm saying. There's ethical concerns from community members, and myself included, regarding how the contract played out.
But you were using the issue that they have ethical complaints against him to discredit to essentially discredit him as a board chair and how he should be going about acting as a board chair in his duties for our board.
Not at all. I asked
So what
if
was your
that
intent
is
with
the
that?
normal, what other boards do. Do you hire a subcommittee? Could we use a committee we already have? And I have concerns about that. My intent was to make sure that this played out as objective and fair as possible. I'm also a new board member in learning, and I don't feel like it's appropriate right now to ask every detail. I think this would be great to discuss at a meeting where we can build trust.
But there was an intent with your email to MSBA. And in that, you were saying that there's ethical concerns with these two individuals.
Brendan, you were in the room during the finance committee when I explained the conflict of interest regarding the contract. And I received a text from you later saying you understood my complaint. That's the complaint. I have it. So if you want, we could go over that as well. There are concerns, there is distrust. MSBA is offering us a workshop. I think it's in our best interest to learn to work together to be an effective board.
Well, effective board members, they need to act like board members.
Absolutely.
And they need to not spread misinformation and lies, whether it's throughout the community or through emails.
Me contacting MSBA confidentially and ensuring that Kent was CC'd on my communication is not spreading lies throughout the community. That is absolutely absurd to do right here in a board meeting. Kent, I would look to you as the chair.
What would you look to me as the chair for?
I don't think this is
You know-
appropriate at a board meeting.
I'm also wondering if are we trying to come to some sort of resolution or agreement or?
No, I guess as a board member and stuff, I'm just trying to, we were definitely a board that was a high functioning board. And I can say now that we are no longer a high functioning board. And for reasons being that there's misinformation that's spread out there that isn't negated by board members or propagated by board members. And that's the reason that I'm questioning the intent of this email.
What evidence do you have that board members are propagating this information?
The email that was just,
To MSBA,
Who
that wasn't
is
to
our
our community.
governing who is,
so where's
We
the
go to for
information
our
that you're getting?
education.
You were saying that the information you got was from community members.
Correct, I'm an elected position. They have come to me with concerns,
But if
and I
there's
share
ever an
concerns.
ethical complaint, the person that's getting the complaint would be the ones to know about that complaint.
And I have shared my concern with them, and it's not a formal complaint.
I don't see how this
Ethical
conversation
concerns.
is productive in any sense of the word. So I'm wondering if this is something that we can work through with MSBA.
And also, do you support spreading lies and misinformation?
I don't know that anyone was spreading lies or misinformation. I think maybe someone was reaching out to MSBA, which is who we go to, so that we can understand what our role is as a board and how we can go through things. So I think that's the right appropriate channel. If you've talked to the person that you're having questions about, then the next step would be to go to MSBA in this case. I think that's the
That is-
appropriate chain of command.
So just to be clear, I was never, outside of that meeting that you asked for Superintendent Matuska's contract and all of the timestamps for everything that was documented in there, which I shared with you,
Not the Google Doc, you shared your copy.
That's right,
And
because
explain
mine
the
is the official
situation.
copy and
I
I
feel like
had
this is
every
a
one of them.
conversation that
So-
should not be played out if there's no point, it's not being productive and we have a lot of people here. This is Mark's
And,
night. So I think
And
that
I
we
get
need to defer
I'm-
to MSBA on this.
any other board members have thoughts about the session?
I guess I go back to being a high functioning board. We need to be a high functioning board. And when we spread lies, when we spread rumors.
Brandon, I'm gonna stop you right there. To insinuate that anybody is doing that is outrageous. Me contacting MSBA is absolutely a part of my role.
Kate, it's all over social media as far as them being ethical problems with our board chair.
That
our
doesn't mean it
superintendent.
comes from
But
me.
you just said that that's where you're getting your information from concerned community members.
Yeah,
So
that's on
that's
also,
where
so you're
my-
tying things together that you have no evidence of. I think I would caution you to do that.
So, we'll continue to move forward, but, that is the rationale, MSBA gave me, that they received, this, email. And, I had already been in contact with MSBA, for the board. And they were the ones that gave me the recommendations. Matter of fact, they shared with me that the board chair, in their capacity, in the typical instance, vets the candidates for the superintendent search. I made the decision that we would do it as a subcommittee, and that subcommittee would be of the officers of the school board, and that is exactly what MSBA recommended and is practice when you do that. And they shared that. They shared that, Kate, with you. I know they did. So,
Yes, they did.
okay.
Which I also said at our last meeting when we reached out to them, that MSBA does recommend a subcommittee. Or supported your decision.
My decision, right.
Right.
But yeah, clearly, I know clearly your intent was that I not be able to select that subcommittee because it said you had concerns with that, but, okay. We'll
My
continue.
intent was just to make sure that that was the status quo. That's how things ran normally in other districts as well. It's okay to double check.
Okay. We will continue on. Obviously, we have some work to do here. So with that, we will go to board committee reports, 3.4.
The superintendent subcommittee process was pretty detailed out in the communication that I sent to the board and then was sent to the district. And so I didn't receive any questions on follow-up from any board members on it. So I don't think I have anything further.
Thank you for that work, and appreciate Brandon and Angie working through that contract with Dr. Thompson on that, as I was out of town on Thursday, Friday, and through the weekend. So thank you for working through that with them and being able to bring that forward. So any questions about that? Okay, and then we'll move on. Land and facilities has not met, personnel has not met, finance has not met, policy also has not met, or has student activities. Zed met on the 17th. So anything from Zed?
Yes, quite a few things came from the ZED meeting. I just want to point out that they approved, or we as the ZED board approved the same overdose medication, the Narcan policy that we had. It's very similar. And they also approved their school resource officer contract, and they expressed gratitude and much pleasure in how that relationship worked this past year, and think that it was really a win-win. So they were very appreciative of that. There are two big things that they are asking of us. The first being the joint powers agreement that has come to essentially a finalization point where they are ready to have boards look at it and then have us approve the joint powers agreement so that we can get it back to the ZED meeting. However, the turnaround is they're looking for us to approve it at our September meeting so that it can be approved by ZED at the October meeting. So the joint powers agreement was sent out to the superintendents and then to the board. And then after tonight, I will be sending it to Kent to send for all of you. And I'm asking that if you have any questions or concerns that you reach out within 2 weeks' time so that we can potentially discuss it at our next special meeting so we can take some things back. So that's one of the big ones. Hayfield has already approved it, if you're wondering. The next is the ALC is looking to offer their own diploma. And I know it's something that's been approached in the past. Currently, how it works is when students go there for credit recovery, that's one of the primary reasons that they go to the ALC, and they are seeking to graduate, they have to go by their districts, how many credits. We require 28 credits to graduate. Some schools require the minimum, which is 24. Actually, I believe the state might be 21, but the minimum in our group is 24. And some are 26, some are 25. Well, the reason why that can be difficult is because they don't have all of the teachers for all of the courses that we would require. So you have non-licensed teachers. You also have, there's no software program that can set this up to say, kid A from Kasson-Mantorville, you're going to need these classes taught by this type of instructor. Student B, C from Byron, you're going to need X, Y, and Z. There's no current software program out there like we would have that can kind of run a report. And so there's a lot of room for human error in making sure that the students are getting the credits that they need to receive a diploma from their home district. So that being said, they are looking to do that. The steps that we are taking are they presented to us at the meeting last week. They've sent it to the superintendents, and they're asking the principals, the superintendents, and the board reps to sit down and have a discussion about why that might be beneficial or why not. And then we'll take that information and present it to you, the board, and then we can decide as a board how we want to be represented then, keeping in mind. There are some pros and there are also some cons. And so when we actually come in, after I talk to the superintendent and the high school principal, and I anticipate probably some of the guidance counselors, then I can go through those pros and cons with you more in depth. If you are wondering before that, please feel free to reach out. And I can, if you've got questions already, I can take them back or make sure they get answered in that group discussion. So kind of a big meeting.
Any questions for Amy? Okay, thank you, Amy. No community ed and no legislative, so we're on to 3.5 Superintendent Matuska's communications. Superintendent Matuska.
Good evening and thanks for coming tonight, everybody. It kind of reminds me of my 50th birthday party, and a lot of you were there. It was everybody I wanted to see and more were there, and there was a lot of smiles, and we had a ton of fun that night. And I can't thank those of you that came tonight that have been supportive of the Comets over the past dozen years. It's just pretty overwhelming. And I've got 6 of my kids here tonight. So stand up, kids. They're all Comet grads. I moved a senior, a junior, an 8th grader, and a 3rd grader to Kasson-Mantorville. And the response we got as a family was absolutely overwhelming. I am so proud of what this community has done for my children and now my grandchildren. This is unbelievable, the support we've got. And I know you see some issues here today, and I'm taking a high road, and I have since I've decided to leave. And there are some people that are taking the low road. Let's just focus a lot on what we can do to continue to make things better, because this is a great community, despite the actions of some. I gotta hand it to Guy, Kent, Chris, Jill Manette Stacy, Ryan Thomas, Judy Thompson, and am I forgetting anybody else? Candy Ellingworth. That was the first board that I came into, and they took a chance on this guy that was the assistant commissioner for the Department of Natural Resources, and they didn't know a hill of beans from me. But I can't tell you how much fun we had as a board, working our tails off to make some changes around here. And you're sitting in some of those changes right now, and we get to enjoy a lot of these changes that some people in our community just take for granted, and they forget what this place used to look like and what it looks like today. They forget what we were like academically, and where you wait till you see what comes out in the 24th. And Lindsay Hess is going crazy right now because I'm breaking the law, and I'm telling you what our test scores are going to be as a district. Wait till you see what they look like on Thursday. There's nobody close to us. Nobody. Our facilities are second to none. Our academics are second to none. We've got people so focused on making sure we're doing the right thing in a community that has been so overwhelmingly supportive for a long time. Unfortunately, it's changed a little bit. And Dave, I apologize for that, but you've got a little work ahead of you too with what we've got to get going. But there are so many positive things. Who I really want to thank the most probably are the kids. You don't have any idea how much fun I had watching you. And this year's class was my first graduation, was my first grade class. I almost made it all the way to the kindergarten kids, or kindergarten. But that's what I call it around my grandkids, so I apologize. But it was so much fun to watch those kids come from elementary to middle to high school. And I'm one of those guys that loves to go to band concerts. I love to go to choir concerts. I loved to go to all the musicals because I love to see the kids on their terms, on their spaces, and to greet the parents and all those in the fine arts. And I think everybody knows how competitive I am. I love to go to all the athletic events, and there's not many things besides our academic record that I'm more proud of than those banners that are hanging up in the gym. And those relationships we have with the community. Not everybody's got a KM Telecom that sponsors a stadium. Not everybody's got a Home Federal that sponsors an arena. Not everybody's got a Minnesota Wi-Fi that sponsors the nicest performing arts center, no matter what Byron says, even though they put 10 more seats in ours than we've got in ours. But nobody can compare to what we did. We set the bar here, and it's because we had a lot of fun, and we had board members who were really positive and really active and really understood this entire community, not a subset of the community. And we've got some people that I can't thank enough. We've got Lion Club members here. Folks, this is the best, the Kasson-Mantorville Lions Club is the best Lions Club in the state of Minnesota. They'll all say, if you're a half an hour early, you're still late. They serve and they serve and they do so much for this community. And I was fortunate to be a Lion. In fact, I've been a Lion now for 32 years, and it's unbelievable because I can't believe I'm that old. But, and then we've got the Care and Share folks here. And Marlon, thanks for giving up your seat right when I came here so that I could be on that. But the Care and Share Committee, and now we meet right at the high school, it's one of the grandest events in town. And last year, we had Jenny, you know, $48,000 that we're bringing in the community to help kids. And those kids are our kids. That's our community's kids. So thanks to all you. And I'm staring at JJ and I'm staring at Bob, and those two are here from the beginning. And Bob keeps our finances in great shape. And there's so many districts in the area, and you'll see them. They get on that roller coaster and they go up and down because they'll give too much money away once and then they cut, and then they give too much. Bob ran the tightest ship around, and we didn't ever have to deal with that roller coaster. And that didn't mean we always gave the biggest raises, but that didn't always mean we gave the littlest raises. But that meant we paid everybody as much as we possibly could because we respected what they were doing for us, whether it was a custodian, a food service with Vicky, whether they were teachers, whether they were paraprofessionals, no matter bus drivers, we paid as much as we possibly could. And JJ, you talk about commitment to excellence. Compare these grounds and these buildings and the cleanliness and the upkeep to anywhere else in the state of Minnesota, if not the Midwest. There's nowhere better. Nowhere. And that's because he's committed to making sure when people walk in this building, there's still a wow factor. And that's the same is true at the elementary school. I can still remember my daughter Olivia in 3rd grade. We walked in and we had a brand new school at Watertown Marion, and she was leaving it. And she walked in and the elementary school was 15 years old already. And she looked at the head custodian. Anybody remember who it was? And she said, "I'm so glad I'm moving into a new building." So they've done well. I want to thank the leadership team. There is no group of principals and special ed directors and teaching and learning folks that are as committed to making sure that our kids are getting the best education they could possibly get. They are really good. In fact, our entire district office staff, and we have some excellent teachers, folks. Excellent. And I can't commend those that give their all every single day enough. And there's a lot of them that do. And I want to praise them for that. I had a few more people I wanted to thank, and I told myself I was going to speak for about 2 minutes. Kasson Chamber has always been extremely supportive. We only had $2,995 worth of gifts to the district today. That's about the lowest it's been in 12 months. We're usually in the $16,000 to $20,000. People giving and giving and giving. I should also recognize a number of the coaches that are here today too. They have given so much to our student athletes. And they give their time and they give their expertise. And we all know coaches could be doing a million different things, but they're giving our kids time. And that commitment isn't everywhere in the state of Minnesota. So thanks to this board. Ken, you've always been a good friend and a good mentor and a good confidant, and I appreciate that. Brandon, your work on the $39 million bond was second to none. Brandon made sure that every single dollar we spent, we understood we can only spend it once. And we would spend on Monday nights from 3:30 until 11 o'clock for 2 years, making sure that we spent every dollar in the right way. And I couldn't be more proud of the work that Brandon did on this building along with Kent. And I certainly know Angie was a big part of that as well. So we've got a great board. We got some great people here. We just need to get a lot of people on the same page. And we should be, because everybody wants one thing. And if we really make decisions that are best for kids, which I have done my best at for my entire career, is to think about kids more than think about anybody else. If we continue to think about the kids, we'll do good things here in Comet Land. We will make it a great day every day to be a Comet. But some people gotta really get it in gear. And so people gotta think a little bit more about what do our kids, what is that desired daily experience of our kids? And when we get to that, we're gonna make some real headways even going forward. So please focus on that as we go forward. One of the benefits of this new job, and some people may think this is a little corny, but I get up and leave Spirit Lake every morning now to head up to Jackson County. And my mom got put in a home back in March. But I get to stop by and see my mom every morning and give her a kiss and talk to her a little bit before I get to work. And I know it means a little bit to her, but it means a lot more to me. And she's a real special lady. I don't know how much time we have left with Mom, but Dad's getting a little lonely at home too, so it's kind of nice being his roommate here for a while till Susie actually gets off her butt and sells our house, which is the last person I really want to recognize. So Suze, I love you so much. You're a beautiful woman inside and out. You did really well with our kids, a lot better than I did. But she's a great lady, so thanks for all you've done. Suze, you're a good grandma, you're a good spouse, you're my best friend, and thanks for everything. And thanks to all the comments.
Thank you, Superintendent Tuska. We have some public comment here. A lot of people want to comment a little bit, looks like about yourself. What if we start with Mayor Chuck Bradford?
Stand up, or do you want to?
You come right down here and join us at the table and turn your mic on, and the floor is yours.
All right, well, first of all, Mark, thank you for your service. A lot of the things that I remember from our work together was breaking ground out here, how you were able to, not once but twice, go to a referendum and get the things that you wanted for our kids and make that happen. Another thing that showed true leadership was when we were experiencing COVID and those meetings that we went through. We convinced the governor to give that control back to the local board, and you called the local board that had students, teachers, community members, community leaders, myself. I think that shows a real level of quality of your character as well as leadership, and I appreciate that. I wanted to share that with you. Also, thank you for your comments earlier today. You don't normally get that level of clarity and emotion showed at a public meeting, and I commend you for your bravery in doing that, so thank you. The reason I wanted to talk tonight was simply I just ordered some athletic clothing for my kids tonight, and I got a confirmation that it was coming, but that confirmation showed that it was being shipped from Michigan. And I thought, wow, this is an opportunity. Why don't we partner with a local business? Say, okay, you can expect this level of business from us every year. What can you do for pricing? and what can we do for availability? I think there's a real opportunity for some partnership with the community business members as well as the school board, and that's why I wanted to speak. Again, Mark, we're going to miss you. Thank you for your service.
Thanks, Mayor.
Mr. Packard, you join us. Mark Packard served on this school board for many years. Mark was stepped off at the time I stepped on, so we never actually served together, but we crossed paths, and he was a mentor to me when I got on the school board. So, Mr. Packard.
You may wonder what I can add to this, and I'm kind of learning that myself. I think everything's been said.
Mike.
Am I on?
Yep, just push that.
By the way, I got a new set of hearing aids today. I've never had them before in my life. The things I'm hearing you wouldn't believe. Some heartbeats and all sorts of stuff. So just kind of go with me on this. Like I was saying before, a lot of things have been said, and I really appreciate the enthusiasm. One of the things that comes to mind I want to talk about just a little bit is when I got off the board, and I've been on for a lot of years, I thought we were in pretty good shape here. You know, we had some bond issues that passed, we had some building programs, things look good, and I thought, you know, I think we're in good shape for the next several years. I got to the board, and about a year later, I hear we're going to have a $45 million bond issue. My first thought was, these guys are nuts. That goes to Guy Paradise. You're part of that. I thought you and all your buddies and Mark were nuts. But I did go to a meeting, and Mark presented. Now, the board had some recommendations, but Mark is the one that gave the presentation on why we need this. And as I listened to him, I thought, by golly, this kind of makes sense. You know, I think maybe I was wrong about some of this, okay? So I left, and there was a vote, but prior to the vote, yes, the board was supportive, but Mark is the one that did the missionary work, right? He's the one that met with people. When you saw the enthusiasm he had tonight, it's hard to vote no when Mark gives a talk like that about why we need that. And oh, by the way, I think you were saying 60 or 70% of the community went along with it also. So it was good for kids. In the past, we always had some concerns about maybe not opening up the school as much because of wear and tear and other silly things. Mark had a different thought. How am I going to get people to vote for additional programs if we don't show them what we got here? Okay. So the next thing, we had meetings, and we had care and share, and we had all sorts of free things here, right? People come in, they look around, they say, this is a good thing. I get to see some classrooms, meet some teachers. When you go out for some help, it's there. So that's all I got. You did a great job. Thanks.
Thanks, Mark.
With that, we're on to Jamie Hyatt. Mr. Hyatt. Thanks for joining us.
I didn't get hearing aids yet, but I might need them here fairly soon. You know, I was at KM a little while here coaching the wrestling program before Mark Matuska was hired. I remember when he was hired, and about that time I took over as a head wrestling coach of KM Wrestling. And I remember my first two interactions, I believe, with Mark Matuska. Number one is about a night like tonight. I was on a property outside of town where we'd go on brutal runs. I was in a little better shape then. I'd go on brutal runs, and I would sit afterwards. A truck came down and met us, and we sat under a tree dripping with sweat while the new superintendent met with our team, talked about goal setting, talked about, you know, his path and the path he went for KM, and not just KM Wrestling, but out there and talking about leadership to these guys. And I thought, wow, that's pretty amazing that he came out tonight while we're all sitting there in sweaty sweats and sat under a tree with us and had that interaction. Fast forward a few months, wrestling season rolls around that year. I'm leaving the job site, hustling a wrestling practice, coming through the parking lot. I'm getting followed by a truck. I can kind of tell it's following me. I could see in my rearview mirror that it was new Superintendent Mark Matuska following me around the parking lot. Of course, my first thought is, great, what I do now? Is there a reason this guy's following me around the parking lot? I parked in over by what's now the district office, and I think I purposely kind of went over that way and thought maybe I'd avoid him because whatever I was doing probably wasn't right that day or having practice the wrong time. And the window rolled down, and he said, "Coach Hyatt?" And I said, "Yes, sir." I walked over to the window, and he said, "When are we going to beat Sidley?" And I said, "This year." And he goes, "Right answer." He rolled his window up and sped away. That was 2012, 2011 at the time season. No, we did not beat him that year. We beat him the next year. But I thought, the goal of this guy to pull over and ask me when we're going to beat him. Of course we're going to beat him this year. To have somebody like that, in a small part, I've firsthand seen Mark Matuska interact, with our students. He talked about seeing Mark Matuska at the PAC Center. He talked about seeing him on the football field. He talked about seeing him on the halls, probably the lunchroom, if you're in the lunchroom. Our students know how much you care about them. I was at the Cheesehead one year in Kasson, Wisconsin. I was talking to an old college teammate of mine that was in a really high-profile wrestling program in Iowa at the time, and he was kind of complaining a little bit about the lack of support from the administrators, from the school. They were at the time were trying to build a powerhouse program, and not just in the state but the nation, and they weren't getting any support. And so he goes, "Well, what's it like up there? What's it like at Kasson-Mantorville? You have any support?" I said, "Well, yeah." I said, "Actually, if you want to talk to our superintendent, he's sitting right over there in the stands. He's in Kasson, Wisconsin, watching us." And he could not believe our superintendent is out there watching us wrestle and compete like that. And I said, "Yeah, but he does that. He does that for everybody. I mean, you can see him everywhere. And he cares about our students. And he cares about the success we have at this school." And that was apparent from day one. I coached here some before Mark Matuska. I coached for 12 years, and I'm now not the head coach, but during pretty much Matuska and I's tenure run about hand in hand. And there's a big difference before and during. I don't like the word easy, but it was really easy to coach during the leadership of Mark Matuska in this school at that time. The support that we had, it made it fun. It was another, maybe that last little bit of motivation, that I think that, a lot of coaches, teachers, community members, all had to do some really good things here. And you look at the last 12 years, there's a lot of good things that have happened in this school, in this community. And I'm very proud to be part of that. I'm very grateful that we've had a lot of kids in our program get to be part of that, and they know. They know Mark Matuska sits in the stands. They know Mark Matuska knows who they're wrestling that night when they walk down the hall. I'm very fortunate that my two kids who are girls who do not wrestle, got to be part of programs and education. One's now just graduated, and one's coming through as a junior. My wife and I are very proud that, we got to be part of what Mark Matuska has built here and what he's led here. And, I'm very grateful for that. The last thing, as a coach, you heard kind of Mark say a little bit ago, I got one point. Everything else I just got to talk about, right? But I got one thing that was in my mind, as a coach, to lead any sort of organization, right? You got to know who you serve. Right? You got to know who you serve. You can't serve this group who's trying to influence you, and this group trying to influence you, and this group trying to influence you, and think you're going to be effective. You know your subject, you know your target, you know who you serve, you know who you answer to, and you know who you got to make your decisions based upon. I've always thought as a coach, if you make every decision to be the best for, those in your program, those students, those kids in your program, you're going to be just fine. You can't make a wrong decision. And I can actually feel that Mark Matuska made decisions based on what's best for our students. And he put our students first. I want to thank him for that. I'm sure that sometimes that's really hard, but when you do that, that's the outcome you're gonna get is what we've had over the last 12 years. Thank you, Mark, really appreciate it.
We have Ryan Stewart. Ryan, join us. Thanks for coming, Ryan.
Good evening, my name is Ryan Stewart. I live across the street. I married a CAM grad 7 years ago, and we're very proud to move back to the CAM school district to raise our family. It's the reason we came, in addition to being close to our family, but to come to the school and the commitment of excellence that you've set forth. My 5 and 3-year-old daughter will be entering schools this year for the first time, and I'm excited for that. They'll have 2 different paths, one in a normal path and one in a special ed path. And I'm excited to see them advance and grow. And the reason they're going to advance and grow the way that they did is because of some of the things that you helped build here. So I thank you for that. I'm excited to start a journey as a parent in the CAM school district. Thank you.
Next, we have Ryan. Ryan, thanks for joining us.
It's fun kind of sitting on this side of the table from a different angle tonight. So the reason I'm here tonight is to thank Mr. Matuska for his service to our district. And I'm going to tackle that from 3 different angles. First, professionally, as you all may or may not be aware, I was privileged and fortunate most days to get to share an office right next to Mr. Matuska. And I thank you and I appreciate you for taking that chance on me back in 2016. I tell the story all the time why I chose KM back then. Obviously, I was a coach before, but I left a really good career to come try something in the district. And, really, it was what you built 2011 through 2016 that made that decision for me. So thank you for what you built. And it's not even what you built, it's the culture that you created through expectations. So thank you for that. I would never trade my time I had to be on the administrative team with Mr. Matuska. I do miss it all the time. I thank you for pushing me to my perceived limits and then beyond, never letting off the gas pedal. I can't tell you the amount of continued success in my career that this has led to. There's no way in a million years I'd be prepared or able to do the job that I do today without the experiences that you gave me. Thank you for the encouragement when it was needed and the tough and difficult discussions that we had when my team didn't support our students, our staff, and our communities in the way that which they deserved. Through you, I learned what having a vision and mission means and to stay the course with it. Through you, I learned will always be naysayers and people hoping that you fail. Tune them out. Thank you for teaching me the impact that our decisions have on kids, keeping kids first and what it means for our communities for generations to come. This is something that has stuck with me and drives every decision I make as a coach. Professionally, even though maybe not with kids, it has impacted me in that I know that every choice I make has an impact on the culture and our objectives. Next, I would like to speak on behalf of KM Wrestling. Thank you for you and your administration's support of our program, which has been second to none. Thank you for always having high expectations for us. Thank you for your resources. We have every tool at KM to be successful. We got a wrestling room with mats on the ground and 4 walls padded. We have a strength and conditioning center that is incredible, and we get all the work that we need to get done there. Thank you for that football field and track. We use it all summer long. We use the stadium. We use the stadium steps. The kids sometimes are not quite as grateful for those stadium runs, but we use them. We use the gyms. That arena in there with the nice long bleachers on the one side. I love it when I can call Terry up, tell him roll those bleachers out. We got some stair runs to do. You have halls for us. We run the heck out of those halls. You have a forum room like this. We bring the kids up here, and we coach more than just wrestling. We coach what it means to be a good man. We coach what it means to work hard and to achieve goals. And that's because of what's built here. Thank you for understanding the importance of these kids' school day from 3:15 to 5:30. You don't see that everywhere. As Jamie alluded to before me, the support that we get from you and this board is incredible. Thank you for your support in seeking the best competition in the country to see how we're progressing and stacking up against the best. Thank you for being at every competition that you can make work. I know Jamie kind of stole my thunder a little bit there, but there's not that many superintendents driving 4.5 hours to watch a wrestling competition. We may even still have a reserved seat for you at the Xcel Energy Center and the Mayo Civic Center. Thank you for stopping our wrestlers in the halls to encourage them. See how they're doing and always make sure they're working their tail off. And the biggest memory I think that sticks out for me with your support for our program was back in 2013, the night that we won our first state championship. Everyone's heading back to the hotel, fans, kids, celebrate. It was a really big deal, that first championship. And that's kind of all I wanted to do is get back and be a part of that. But I had to stay with Coach Hyatt, and that meant we had to sit at the Xcel Energy Center for about an hour and a half after that last whistle, talking to Mr. Matuska. Thank you. Personally, I just want to thank you on behalf of my wife and I for the groundwork that you've laid for our two comments coming through. KM schools are the reason that we're in Southeast Minnesota, hands down. We've had all kinds of opportunities, and things pop up to go elsewhere, and it's KM schools that keep us right here. So thank you. Lastly, I'd just like to address the board. Thank you for always supporting Mr. Matuska and what is best for kids. Please don't take lightly the job that you have ahead of you in selecting our next superintendent. The communities of Kasson and Mantorville are a great place to thrive and prosper because of our school district. We need someone that is 100% committed and understands the impact that their decisions have on our kids and support our kids in all areas of their education. Thank you.
That's what we have for public comment. Oh, yes, Mayor, you are welcome to address the board. Thank you for coming tonight, by the way.
Sorry about that.
Thank you.
Hi, my name's Chris. A couple things. Mark, thank you. I'm going to echo what everybody else is saying, so I'm not going to butter you up that much. So. But I did have a conversation with my son on Saturday. He came back to the first 10 golf in the football tournament. And we did reminisce about the time that he impersonated you on Twitter and closed school at 10 o'clock at night, and he does apologize again. And promise he would never do that again. So, but no, thank you. The community, what Ryan said, Kasson-Mantorville are much better off with a good partnership with the school. Having sat in the 7 seats, or one of the 7 seats where you folks are at, I can honestly say I would never do it again. You guys have a very, very difficult job. And what you have to do for the next 12 months, if you're finding the next permanent superintendent or semi-permanent, is a big task. And that partnership with the city of Mantorville, the city of Kasson is imperative. I can't stress that to you enough, having sat in your seats, having sat in the mayor's seat for 6-7 years now. It's refreshing to see 7 people that maybe don't always see things the exact same way, because you don't have to agree on everything. You don't have to agree on anything. But if you can do it respectfully with each other, keeping the children in mind, they're first, right? Then this building's for the children, period. Doesn't matter who they are. Then it's for staff, community, but that relationship with the community. When Mark got here, one of my favorite things that Mark said to you was with the business community, I can't tell you how many times we get kids, parents, whoever come in looking for something, right? He said, we should be going out saying thank you back when we had that first banquet for everybody who had donated something back at the school when Guy was on this board and everybody else at the same time. And it was amazing when you add up the total for the year, it's $190,000 that was given by the business community individuals in this community. And it's ramped up every year for 12 years. Our kids benefit from that directly. So whatever you do as a board, whatever MSBA says you should do, do it. Because everybody's going to look to you as a leader. You are elected to do that, all of you. I'm not scolding you, I'm just encouraging you to do the most difficult job you're going to do. Because when there is whatever it is we saw earlier, whenever you see that, you hate to see that as a citizen, a taxpayer, a student, administration, staff, because everybody's looking to you. At the end of the day, it's you. And that's why I would never be in your seat again. So thanks to the board for all you guys do. Get together. You're much better together. Okay. And Mark, thank you very much for everything you've done for the community. We're going to miss you. I know every decision isn't popular, but like Guy said, when we first said that, you said you aren't here to make popular decisions. Amen. Because whenever you're in a leadership position, even at the school board level, even Bob, even the ways it's Saint, sometimes his decisions aren't necessarily what we want to hear as a board member, but you weren't there to make the popular decision, you were there to make the right one. So keep up the good work. Mark, thank you for your information.
So we've just got a couple things to get through here. Consent agenda. Do we have a motion to approve the consent agenda as presented?
So moved.
Thanks, Angie. Thanks for the second, Brandon. And I know that Amy will be abstaining on this. So all those in favor of approval of the consent agenda, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign, and one consent abstention. Thank you. The motion carries, and we're on action items. We've got 3 action items. The first one is to approve the interim superintendent for the 23-24 school year contract. We had an opportunity to meet with this individual and chat a couple different times. Angie initially talked to Dr. Thompson, and I had a short conversation. Then he came in to meet with us. Very positive interaction. I'll let Ms. Richards and Mr. Madiri talk a little bit about their thoughts and the contract, and then we'll look for a motion.
I guess through the process, it became very clear to me that Dr. Thompson was the right next leader as an interim superintendent for Kasson-Mantorville schools. He has a great vision. I think his demeanor and his communication style is right for Kasson-Mantorville. There is no doubt that he has educational expertise, not only through all journeys of education, from teaching in the classroom, but to leading at the superintendency position, but also in helping MSBA and doing consulting work for other school districts. I don't think that we could find anyone with a more vast educational background, and we're so fortunate that Dr. Thompson was willing and able to maybe cut back on some of his other commitments in order to work with Kasson-Mantorville full-time for this next year.
Yeah, I'll second everything that Angie said, and Kent, in our conversation with him, it was very apparent even that, he knew all of the, current, he was up to speed on all the current, legislative changes and all the policies, the 26 policy changes that are going to affect us right here and now, above any of the other candidates. And to be able to fill this role now, feel very confident that we have the right person who has spent 17 years as superintendent in a neighboring district and is a very well-respected and experienced individual. So I look forward to having him here as Kasson-Mantorville.
And I will echo that and thank you, Dr. Thompson, for being willing to step up and serve here. So we will take a motion to approve that superintendent contract.
I move to approve.
Thank you, Angie. Thank you. Second, any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor of approval of the interim superintendent contract for 23-24? Opposed, same sign. The motion carries. 6.1.2, oh, by the way, congratulations. Just two other quick items. 6.1.2 is to approve the truth and taxation hearing date, December 18th, 2023 at 6 p.m. Do I have a motion to approve that?
So moved.
Thank you, Amy. And a second?
I'll second.
Thank you, Patrick. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor of approval of the truth and taxation hearing date, December 18th, 2023 at 6 p.m. state aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. The motion carries. And we are on to 6.1.3, approve the resolution for designation of the IOWA for MDE external user access recertification, which really means we will at this time approve our superintendent, Dr. Thompson, as that designee, and we do this annually. So do we have a motion to approve that? Thanks, Brandon. And a second.
I'll second.
Thanks, Amy. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor of approval of the resolution for IOWA, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Informational items, 7.1, next special school board meeting is 6 p.m. Monday, September 11th, 2023 in the district office meeting room. And our next regular school board meeting is 7 p.m. Monday, September 25th in the high school community forum room. Do I have a motion for adjournment? Thank you, Brandon. Second.
Second.
Thank you, Angie. All those in favor of adjournment, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Meeting adjourned. Thank you, everyone, for coming out. There is a reception and some cake and water out there for everybody, and hang around and also Lieutenant just waiting around. And Mr. Thompson, if you'd like to meet Mr. Thompson, shake his hand.
We muted. Say what I was thinking. We can talk about it.